We gather today to retell the story of beginning, not just for one child long ago, but for all of us, every day. The birth of every child is a beginning. It's the start of something new, not just for the child, but for each parent and for the family gathered around them. It is a beginning that comes eventually, but not necessarily on schedule. Jesus, after all, arrived at an incredibly inconvenient moment. The family had just completed a long journey on foot and on donkey. And then when they arrived at their destination, there was no guest room, no crib, and a lot more cattle and hay than I'm sure anyone probably wanted. But all was well, and baby Jesus grew so fast. Because blink, and infants become toddlers and then teenagers. They learn to crawl, walk, run, and then drive. They learn to talk. They learn to spell. They learn to tell stories. Each experience is new to them. Children remind us that life is always in motion, and in that motion, there's growth. Adults are always growing too, even if we stop noticing. We continue to learn new skills and knowledge. Our hair grows, our nails grow, sometimes our hips and waists do too. There's always some part of us that is just like a child drawing its first breaths, taking its first steps. We take a step and we encounter new experiences at work or home. We take another step, and we experience getting older. Another step, getting injured. Another step, getting better. However old you are now, you are at this age for the very first time. Happy birthday. No matter what you encounter tomorrow, it will be new because you will be different. This growing edge in life never goes away. And at Christmas, we remember that God meets us at this growing edge of life. As we take new steps, God is with us. God is there in that moment of wide-eyed wonder at something new or something scary. Mary and Joseph experienced this in the most tangible way while holding baby Jesus. For the rest of us, it is a conviction of faith that we encounter in community and in prayer, that God is with us as we grow. But the way we talk about this often misses the profound reality. It's not as simple as God watching us on high as we grow. It's not as simple as saying Jesus is mystically present alongside us as we grow. Both are true, but they don't show the complete story. Christmas is the claim that Jesus is himself the growing edge of all life. Through Jesus, God is both growth and the space we grow into. God was with us in our first steps and is with us in our next, showing us love with each and every step. In a stable in Bethlehem, God incarnates the growing edge so that we might also grow towards love. Christ becomes human and never stops becoming. Each time we push up against the limits of what we have experienced before, Christ is there in the most fundamental way. The birth of a child is a beginning, but the birth of Jesus is the beginning of growth and change. Although we may want to try to stop growth and change, we cannot, but we can choose to recognize God in it. With each step we take, we can be certain that God is there. With each step, we need not be afraid. With the child Jesus gazing at us within each emerging moment, we can let go of fear and anger and we can embrace the love of God, growing more loving and Christ-like with each new step.
Feel obligated each year to point out that the night was probably not terribly silent. I have no doubt that Mary screamed during childbirth. She should. Baby Jesus certainly wailed, and there's nothing wrong with that. They were at a busy guest house, and people are coming and going, and let's not forget all the livestock. Grunting and whining and lowing. Apparently, that's a classy way to say mooing. I had to look that up this week. And if that's not enough, a bunch of shepherds show up with, I assume, their entire flocks in tow. And if the stories and songs are to be believed, along came one little boy with a drum kit. So I think it is safe to say that the birth of Jesus was messy. And let's be clear, the world around him was messy too. Jesus' family tree was full of misfits and outcasts. Mary and Joseph weren't married. They weren't at home. Nothing was going to plan. Rome had occupied Mary and Joseph's homeland and committed atrocities. And as we learned from the reading just now, King Herod is running around trying to unalive people. So no matter how much drama you have had at any family Christmas gathering, it has absolutely nothing on the first Christmas. It is so ironic, then, that Christmas has become this season of perfection. We have to make sure the decorations turn out perfect and the recipes turn out perfect. We need to buy the perfect gift or pretend to be the perfect family or create the perfect memories. We need to get the lighting and the angle just right so that our Snap and our TikToks has the perfect vibe for the season. And then when our life feels messy, when we look around and the world seems really messy, suddenly this pressure to be perfect makes it feel like Christmas is somehow ruined for us or for the people we love. But there is no such thing as a perfect Christmas, because Christmas is all about God being right there in the midst of the messy. God didn't say, hey, when y'all get your life together and get everything sorted out, then I'll come hang out with you. No, God took a look at all of our mess and said, you know what? I'm going to come into that world as a vulnerable child. I'm going to walk with you, and I'm going to love you, and I'm going to teach, and I'm going to heal, and even suffer alongside you. God not only decides to be with us in our mess, God looks at the mess and decides, this is the moment when I'm going to do a new thing. And that's where our real hope comes this Christmas. God deciding that ugly, messy moments are the time to do something beautiful. Because remember, when we feel despair, when we look around and see a world that seems dark and gloomy, God is out there doing something new. King Herod may have been playing Game of Thrones, but meanwhile, in an outback of an overbooked Airbnb in this tiny little town, a child is being born. And I doubt a lot of people at that time were paying attention, but that was the hope, not what happened in King Herod's palace or in Rome. And so we can choose to look around too. We can remember that new beauty is always being born. Yes, we are in a world full of transphobia and homophobia, but still today there are children coming out to their friends and just getting love instead of derision. In the midst of mass incarceration and climate chaos, there are right now activists and innovators trying to build something more beautiful. In the midst of everything heartbreaking that is going on in Israel and Palestine, I think back to a place Colleen and I visited a couple years ago, just on the outskirts of Bethlehem, a summer camp location where Palestinian kids and Israeli kids could come together, learn to grow vegetables, learn to create peace instead of hate. These places of beauty are out there. The question is whether we pay attention to them. A new world is always being born if we are bold enough to look for it. And so our temptation this Christmas and every Christmas is to fixate on the mess, to fixate on everything that seems to be going wrong in our lives and around the world. And we tell ourselves that it has to be perfect. We tell ourselves that if it's not, we can feel depressed and anxious. But a child is born to us this day, in the middle of our mess, joining our mess, making something better out of our mess. And the hope of Christmas is just this, that if we are willing to look, we will see a light that shines in the darkness, and the darkness will not overcome it.